Now, if we look at PowerApps and PowerAutomate, and this is for many people a very new topic because it's been something that's not been around for a long time for Microsoft. I do want to cover it, and I will cover it very quickly. Again, also here, we're going to do a deep dive session because there's a lot of nitty-gritty details that come into play here, but I want to give you an overview of what it is and how to license these products. So PowerApps and PowerAutomate, Microsoft states for these. So I start with PowerApps. Increase agility across your organization by rapidly building low-code apps that modernize processes and solve tough challenges. It's a low-code and no-code app development platform. The model is quite different here as well, so it can be quite difficult to understand. You can license it per user or by apps, and there's a need here as well for capacity and potentially additional portals that you might need. And question that you want to ask is how do you deal with external users? Now for PowerAutomate, Microsoft states, streamline repetitive tasks and paperless processes with Microsoft PowerAutomate so you can focus your attention where it's needed most. So it will help you to create certain automated tasks so that you don't have to keep doing that yourself. Think, for instance, about if you get an email from a certain address, it will trigger a process in the background, like create a ticket within the Dynamics 365 application or whatever, or create a note somewhere that you need to access in a later stage. It goes quite far, and with robotic process automation, it becomes even more interesting. So going into how to license this, for Microsoft PowerApps, there are two licensing motions. So you have the PowerApps per user plans, and these are licensed per named user, and they enable users to access any number of applications and portals across any environment. And licenses are assigned through the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This license type is typically used for organizations that are using many applications across many different environments. On the other side, you have the PowerApps per app plans, and this is a single license that enables a user to access 2 applications within one portal within an environment. Licenses are allocated to users when an app in an environment is shared with a user. So basically, if you create an application and you have a pool of PowerApps per app plan licenses and someone accesses that application, one license is taken from the pool. It is assigned to that user that is accessing that application. And then you cannot assign that license to someone else for a 24-hour period. Unless that user keeps using that application, obviously, because then you would need to keep assigning it. These licenses are stackable, so that means if you have a user that accesses more than 2 applications in an environment, you can allocate more licenses to that application. So then you just stack the amount of licenses that you might need and make sure that you have enough to cover the need of your organization. But there's a break-even point, obviously, when the PowerApp app plans become less interesting, and you should move to the PowerApp per user plans for all the applications that you might have created within your company. Here the licenses are assigned to the apps via the PowerPlatform Admin Center. And please keep in mind that this is for applications that you create outside of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365, because within those platforms you still have PowerApps availability, but you can only use that for the sake of the data that you have present within Microsoft 365 and or Dynamics 365. Now, there's usually 3 scenarios when we look at external use, portals, and additional capacity. You use portals to allow access for users. Portals need not be licensed, only access to the portals need to be licensed. And then if we look at the 3 different scenarios, you have the internal authenticated use, you license according to the previous slide. You have external authenticated use, where you will grant external users access to your environments or your apps. And you license with PowerApps portals login capacity add-ons and buy license for the required amount of monthly logins. And if you have multiple logins in a 24-hour period by one authenticated users, these are counted as one billable login. So it's a 24-hour period and you don't need to count additional logins within that period for that same user. And you have a scenario for anonymous users, then you acquire a license for PowerApps portals page view capacity add-ons. You can buy that, for instance, for 100K page views, which is around $100 per month. So that's for basically if you don't know how many users are going to access that application. So you put an application online and you build it within PowerApps. You don't know how many users are going to use it. You should license it according to that licensing model. PowerAutomate has two main licensing motions as well. The per user plan, again, named users that you assign to a user to access any number of flows across any environment, so that user can set up as many flows as it wants. And also here, these licenses are assigned through the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And then you have the PowerAutomate per flow plan. So that again is a way to just license the flows that you're creating. It's a single license that enables an unlimited number of users to use a single flow across an organization, and a quantity of 5 per flow plans licenses are needed. So that's the minimum that you need within your tenant. Licenses are stackable, meaning if you need a user to access more than 2 apps in an environment, you can and should allocate more licenses to that app or flow. And also here, these are assigned to the applications or the flows via the PowerPlatform Admin Center. These are best for businesses that want to have all users access the created flows that are present within that organization. Now there's 2 additional licensing models here that use robotic process automation. And the first one is PowerAutomate per user with attended RPA. It's a base license that you have it's the PowerAutomate per user license, I should say, but you can buy it with attended RPA. It includes the ability to create desktop flows for automation. So these are tasks that you can set up and they will start to run in the background. The desktop flows must run on the device of the licensed user. So it's just for your own device and to use it on there. And if there are multiple flows, they must be run sequentially. So you can't do that parallel. And then you have the PowerAutomate unattended RPA add-on, and that's quite an interesting one. It's an add-on license to the PowerAutomate per flow license or the PowerAutomate per user with attended RPA license, and it will allow you to work on triggering certain tasks without you needing to start them. So, like I said, within PowerAutomate with the unattended RPA add-on. If you, for instance, have a flow set up where you get an email from a certain address and you need to action that email, and that email is always actioned in the same way, so you need to read out something from that email and you need to pass it on to an Excel file or something like that, you can have that automated and triggered whenever such an action happens. We have a little bit more information on the unattended scenarios on our YouTube page. So if you need to learn more about this and you want to do it right now and not wait for the deep dive session that we're going to do, you can find it on our YouTube page.